The Arctic is a graveyard of lost things. Ships swallowed by ice, civilizations buried beneath centuries of snow, and flights that vanish without a trace. For 40 years, Flight AE-106 was one such mystery. A passenger jet that disappeared on Christmas Eve 1976, leaving behind only whispers of what might have happened. No debris, no distress signal, just a haunting void. Until now. When satellite scanning picked up a metallic anomaly deep within the Alaskan ice, researchers believed they had finally found the lost plane. But as the excavation began, something felt wrong. Strange patterns on the ice, tracks where no human foot had ever stepped. And then the eyes. They were watching from the frozen expanse. The truth hidden inside that plane wasn't just a story of survival. It was something far stranger. Something that defied logic and rewrote the boundaries between man and nature. What the team discovered next didn't just solve a decades-old mystery. It changed everything. James Wilson stood by the window of his office in Anchorage, watching the snow drift lazily past the glass. At 58, he had spent over 3 decades studying the harsh Alaskan wilderness. But nothing in his extensive career had prepared him for the satellite images that now lay on his desk. The metallic anomaly, detected by military satellites in January 2016, had initially seemed like just another routine investigation. However, as he studied the earlier scans more closely, a chill ran down his spine that had nothing to do with the winter cold. Dr. Wilson? Emily Clark, his assistant, appeared in the doorway. Her usually reserved demeanor showed signs of excitement. The thermal imaging results just came in. You need to see this. Together, they delved into the new data. The shape was now unmistakable. The clear outline of an aircraft's tail fin, buried deep in the ice at a precise 40-degree angle. James's hands trembled slightly as he overlaid the dimensions with known aircraft specifications. It matches, Emily whispered. Flight AE-106. The name hung heavily in the air between them. Every researcher in Alaska knew of Flight A-106, the passenger jet that went missing on Christmas Eve, 1976. 150 souls lost to the wild, their fate remaining one of aviation's most enduring mysteries for 4 decades. Get me Thompson from the National Science Foundation, James said, his voice remaining steady despite the gravity of the moment, and contact Dr. Linda Taylor from the Wildlife Service. We'll need her expertise. Within days, the operation transformed from a simple anomaly investigation into one of the largest recovery missions in Alaskan history. The National Science Foundation expedited the funding request, and the U.S. Air Force offered logistical support. Yet, even as the pieces fell into place, James couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something much deeper than just a crash site. Linda Taylor arrived at the briefing room in Anchorage on a gloomy January morning, her silver-streaked hair pulled back into a practical braid. At 62, she was one of the world's leading experts on Alaskan wildlife behavior, with a specific focus on large predators. The room was already packed with specialists, glaciologists, aviation experts, forensic archaeologists, and survival specialists. The site is located approximately 180 miles northeast of Anchorage, James explained, pointing to a topographic map. We are expecting average temperatures of minus 42 degrees Celsius and wind speeds up to 18 meters per second. This will not be easy. Linda studied the satellite imagery with particular interest. The topology of the ice field is unusual, she remarked. These patterns here. She traced a finger along a series of jagged lines. They don't correspond to typical glacial movement. What are you thinking? James asked. I'm not sure yet, Linda replied thoughtfully. But in my experience, when nature deviates from the expected, there is usually a reason. The team spent the next week preparing for deployment. 84 tons of specialized equipment were assembled. Thermal drilling rigs, ground-penetrating radar, mobile lab units, and enough supplies to sustain a team of 30 for 2 months. Among the crew was Robert Evans, a seasoned ice pilot who had flown search and rescue missions in Alaska for 25 years. "I remember when the 106 went down," Robert shared during one of the planning sessions. "I was just a kid, but my father was part of the first search party. He never got over the fact that they weren't found. He said the weather that Christmas was the worst he'd ever seen." The convoy set out in early February, a procession of heavy vehicles crawling through the frozen landscape. Linda rode in the lead vehicle with James, her eyes constantly scanning the horizon. Something about the terrain nagged at her scientific instincts. The way the snow drifted, the unusual patterns in the ice formations. "Stop!" she suddenly cried out, forcing James to signal the convoy to halt. She pointed to a seemingly random patch of snow. "See how the surface texture changes? There is a reason animals don't cross that patch." Subsequent investigation revealed a dangerous hidden crevasse that could have swallowed one of their vehicles whole. Linda's observation likely saved lives and equipment, but it also raised questions. How had she spotted it so quickly? "Years of studying predator behavior," she explained with a slight smile. "They leave clues if you know how to look for them." The team established base camp in 18 hours, a small town of fortified tents and portable structures designed to withstand the brutal Arctic conditions. The crash site was less than a kilometer away, its presence marked by the faint tip of the tail fin protruding from the ice. It was during the initial survey that they first spotted the snow leopard. The presence of such an animal was unusual. This individual, a large female accompanied by 2 near-adult cubs, seemed perfectly calm on the open ice field. "Incredible," Linda murmured, watching through binoculars. "They are perfectly adapted to these conditions. Look at the size of those paws. They are much larger than typical snow leopard prints." The animals kept a steady distance from the camp, neither approaching nor fleeing. More striking was their behavior around the crash site. The mother snow leopard navigated specific areas with extreme caution, and her cubs followed exactly in her tracks. "They are avoiding weak spots on the ice," Linda realized, "but this goes beyond ordinary predator awareness. It's almost as if they know the way." The entire team noticed how the snow leopard's movements seemed to mark safe passages through the treacherous terrain. The recovery operation itself was painstaking work. Engineers deployed thermal elements with surgical precision. The snow leopards remained constant observers, their presence becoming so familiar that the team began calling them the guides. When they finally breached the fuselage, the scene inside made everyone freeze. The cabin was perfectly preserved, a haunting time capsule of that Christmas Eve in 1976. Magazines lay open on tray tables. Flight attendant carts stood in the aisle, coffee cups still resting on them, turned into blocks of ice. But the personal effects were the most emotionally overwhelming. A child's doll, a wallet containing photos of smiling families, letters written but never sent. Every item told the story of an interrupted life. In the cockpit, they found the captain's logbook, his final entry a concise description of engine failure. More revealing was a flight attendant's diary found in a storage compartment. The entries, spanning 18 days after the crash, painted a picture of incredible courage. December 25, 1976. Dawn, if you can call this light dawn. 22 survivors out of 150. The impact was devastating, but the cold is the real killer. Captain Smith is organizing us, rationing emergency supplies. Megan, the other surviving stewardess, is trying to calm people down. How do you comfort those who lost everything on Christmas? December 27, 1976. The radio is dead. No sign of rescue. Captain Smith says we are far off course. Sometimes we hear animals outside. Strange sounds. Something big. December 30th, 1976. 19 left. The cold is unbearable. Megan noticed something strange today. There are tracks in the snow around the plane, but they seem to be warding off other predators. Captain Smith thinks we crashed in the territory of big cats. Somehow, that is comforting. January 5th, 1977. Only 12 left. We have run out of emergency rations. Megan didn't wake up this morning. The strange thing is, we are finding fresh prey near the plane. Rabbits. It's as if something is leaving them for us. Captain Smith says it's impossible, but we have stopped believing in impossible things. The final entry was dated January 11th, 1977. I am the last. The rest are gone, but I am not alone. They are there. I see their eyes in the dark, not threatening. They are watching, waiting. Now I understand why they stayed close. They are the guardians of this place. The mother leopard brought another rabbit today. I couldn't reach it, too weak. I think she understood. She sat in the snow for hours, just watching. I am no longer afraid. When the end comes, I won't be alone. Linda spent days analyzing the diary entries. These leopards, she explained to James, are exhibiting characteristics beyond normal territorial behavior. We have documented them bringing food to the excavation zone. They always leave prey in visible spots during our breaks. The mother leopard often appeared just before a storm rolled in. Her agitated behavior would force the team to seek shelter. The cubs mirrored her movements. Are you suggesting these are the descendants of those same leopards? James asked. Yes, Linda replied. We are looking at several generations. I believe they inherited not just the territory, but the memory of those people. As the excavation continued, they found evidence. Small caches of food around the plane, some containing the remains of small game. But the most stunning discovery was made by Maya Reed, an assistant, deep grooves in the ice, worn down by decades of paws following the exact same safe routes around the plane. They stood watch, Linda realized. For 40 years, they guarded this place. The operation concluded. The remains of the passengers were returned to their families. The diary was given to a museum. But the story of the snow leopards captivated the world. Linda Taylor dedicated the remainder of her career to studying this phenomenon, establishing a station nearby. 5 years later, James Wilson joined her for the anniversary. Together, they watched the sunset. I think that first mother leopard recognized something in those survivors, Linda said quietly. Not prey, but living beings fighting for life. And she passed that on to her children. James nodded. A legacy of compassion. More than that, Linda added. Proof that we are never truly alone. As if on command, the mother leopard appeared on the ridge, followed by her cubs. She looked at the researchers with that same wise gaze. As they vanished into the twilight, Linda remembered the last words of the diary. I am no longer afraid. I won't be alone. Today, a plaque stands at the crash site, in memory of the 150 souls of Flight AE-106, and in honor of their unexpected guardians, the snow leopards who taught us that compassion knows no boundaries. The snow leopards still roam those paths, a living memorial to the moment the line between human and animal vanished in the icy wilderness of Alaska.